Well, good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning from here in Lagos. I'm Tooki.
And as you can see, we have Paper's guests this morning to take us along as we look at some of the issues in the papers this morning. Abimbola Tooki is editor of Business World. Thank you so much for your time.
Always my pleasure.
Let's go straight to it. We begin with the Nigerian Tribune, and it leads with Borno massacre. Recruit mercenaries to defeat terrorists, Zulum tells federal government. Nigeria and neighboring countries will ensure no hiding place for terrorists. That's according to the president. Nigeria being denied weapons to fight terrorists. Again, the federal government says slain farmers didn't have permission to go to farm. That's according to the presidency. That report, that press statement, was all over the place yesterday. And presidency's reactions show lack of empathy for victims. That's coming from the People's Democratic Party. That story you'll find on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. What's your take on all of this?
Well, you know what that tells me straight away? The lack of faith in Nigeria's security architecture. Because if a governor is calling for intervention of mercenaries, that means that even the governors have lost faith in the security architecture of Nigeria. It's not only him. I think yesterday or so, governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, also had an interview, and he said that governors are frustrated, So I think it is getting to the peak at the moment. And we have a government that is showing, that is not showing enough responsibility as far as security is concerned. It also tells us the kind of government we have in power. At the moment, the only person that believes in the security chiefs is probably the president and some who are working some of those who are working with him. If you listen to Nigerians speak, they have lost faith, lost confidence in the security architecture of the country. And they keep sitting there, and the president is looking, and you begin to wonder, what is anybody benefiting from their continued stay in office? The security chiefs. Well, it is getting out of hand.
A number of questions so many people have raised about that one also goes in the line of, okay, so how significant will a change of leadership of the service chiefs be, given that constitutionally it is the role of the police to ensure internal security?
No, the Boko Haram, fighting of Boko Haram, is it the police that has been deployed there? We are talking of war. We are not talking of just ordinary attack or things like. We are talking of war situation. That's responsibility of the military, not the police. We can also see that police are already overwhelmed, even with the normal day-to-day security affairs of the country. Police is overwhelmed, and not only that, the governor they are powerless. They don't have control over the police. They don't have control over the army. As a matter of fact, if any governor directs commissioner of police to go and do something, he has to clarify from Abuja before he does it. And before you know it, a lot of harm must have been done across the states. So there is need for a rejig in the entire security architecture of the country. And I think it's getting to the peak. And I don't know. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but government needs to do something very, very urgently as far as this is concerned.
Well, that's the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Well, take a look at the front page of a Daily Trust. Similar headline. Zabamari aftermath. Borno governor wants foreign mercenaries back. You say that sounds like a lack of trust. Some might say, maybe saying, well, we need more help. Yes, we have some form of, we have provisions, but maybe it's not enough. And you see the writers demands 5 other things from Buhari. There were actually a list of things that he wanted, especially when the federal government's delegation and the Senate's delegation visited yesterday. I see, take fight to insurgents, president orders military. It's on page 4. And, yet again, when we see attacks like this, we keep asking, what more can we do? What more can we do? This is not a security situation room, so it's going to be hard to speak to that. But clearly, a lot of Nigerians see what's happening, and they expect a lot. You have said the government should rejig the security architecture. But interestingly, the president is also saying the same thing. So whose responsibility is it to really rejig the security architecture?
Who appointed them?
Well, the president is asking the service chiefs to rejig the security architecture.
Yes. One thing that also strikes me here is the president waits for calamity to happen before he calls for action.
But they have meetings.
So what is the outcome of those meetings? The outcome of those meetings is what we saw day before yesterday, 2 days ago. What are the outcomes of those meetings? Look at the amount of, stupendous amount of money that has been spent on security in this country. We are not seeing the results. We are not seeing it. And some people are still sitting there feeling comfortable about it. Look at it. Look at the number of farmers that were killed. Not only killed, their throats were slitted. Come on. It's just dastard and it's getting out of hand. Honestly, it's getting out of hand. And I think we should begin to see proactive measures in this regard. The service chiefs, they seem to have outlived their relevance as far as this is concerned.
And you think that will guarantee?
Look at it. Even the National Assembly, they have called on the president to change some of these people. And the president has insisted that they should be there. Does it call? It calls for concern.
And the question people will ask yet again is, does that guarantee change in what we're seeing now? Does that guarantee fresh ideas? We had that conversation yesterday. So the question is, that change, are we sure that it will give us fresh ideas? Is that really where the challenge is here?
Have you implemented the change?
So you're saying we should try it first?
Yeah, come on.
So this is like trial and error?
No, not like that. Those who have fresh ideas. That's what we are talking about. Those who have fresh ideas. Those who can bring new things on board. You understand? This is what, we have a lot of brilliant people in the army. If these people, if they can't do something, you don't keeping them there. If occurrences and happenings around the country have told us that these people, they are no longer capable of the work they are given. So why can't you try new ideas? Why can't you try new brains and see that this will? And I believe it's not just appointing. You have to look at track records. Even if you want to change the architecture, you have to look at track records. You have to look at experiences. You have to look at, what they have done in the past. Not just change just for changing's sake.
Well, Mr. Tooki, I'd like to show you the front page picture, the big picture on the front page of the Daily Trust, just before we move on. And it shows University of Ibadan workers sweeping the institution's premises, not as a result of environmental or cleaning, but to celebrate the end of a tenure of Professor Olayinka, who was Vice-Chancellor of the university. Look at that.
Well, that goes to tell you, it says a lot about the administration of the outgoing Vice-Chancellor. And, people are happy, when people show the kind of happiness when a leader is going, it goes to tell you bunch as to what has been the achievement of that leader.
But it may also tell you what kind of followership or following he had.
No, excuse me. It's symbolic. When people sweep, that one is
when
symbolic.
Some people, it might also mean that, sometimes...
No, sweeping in this regard is symbolic. They are sweeping maybe bad record or something that is bad. They are sweeping it away.
Isn't that
to create an enabling environment for something new to come.
Isn't that subjective, Mr. Tooki? For some people it might be bad. For some people it may have been good. So do you think this is enough to judge his administration?
Maybe we should dig the achievement of the outgoing VC. Maybe we should talk to some of the stakeholders in the university and touch on what has been his achievement. Then you will now know why people are sweeping away.
Well, perhaps maybe since you are a journalist as well.
yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe that is what we should do.
The New Telegraph this morning is looking at pretty much the same story. Nigeria needs mercenaries to defeat Boko Haram. That's according to the governor of Borno State. Buhari orders military to flush out insurgents. I thought that directive was given about 5 years ago. How far with that? One may want to find out. Now, this one is interesting. Presidency says farmers didn't get military clearance. When I listened to the words of the governor of Borno, he was saying something. He said his people are between two devils, so to speak. They stay home and stay hungry, stay safe and hungry, or risk going out to get food or get killed. So they are between those two, those two devils, two ends. And here's the presidency saying perhaps they should have gotten military clearance before they went to the market, to their farms, you know. But what do you make of that?
That pronouncement actually seems to me to be unguarded statement. And I think the statement was first credited to the president's spokesperson, that Shehu Garba. And I think he has tried to explain what he meant by what he said. When you are blaming those who are already dead for not doing certain things, you are not blaming yourself for not providing, for not securing the life of the citizens. You are blaming the dead for doing certain things. That seems to me to be very unreasonable and unguarded. Do we want to say that we don't know that farms are there? And if farms are there, who will cultivate the land? Is it not human being? Okay, we are talking of rice, which is, one of the staple food material in the country. We know that farms are there, and we know that people will cultivate the land. And the land we are talking about here is not just 1 acre or 2 acre. It's vast. It's an expanse of land. You understand? So, for such activities, adequate security is supposed to have been provided. So now saying that people didn't take clearance before they go to farm. For instance, now look at the rice we are talking about. They are rice farmers. How much is a bag of rice in the market? As a matter of fact, the local product is competing in terms of price with foreign products. You understand? So these are key farm areas that are supposed to be well guided in the first place.
Perhaps a number of people might look at it differently, that maybe because of the peculiarity of the security challenges there, it was a standard for anyone who wanted to go to any specific area to, get military clearance to be sure that it's okay to go. For instance, there was that time that the governor of Borno State was attacked. His convoy was attacked, and when he was going to a particular village, I forgot the name of the village, and they said that, look, he shouldn't have gone there because he had already been told that it was a security risk for him to go there. So perhaps that is the background from which
I'm not saying that I don't actually understand that statement, but I'm saying that, for instance, the people involved, how well educated are they? Okay? Are they well educated to know that there are certain periods? Because if you look at them, they are probably illiterates. Okay? Are they well informed? Are they well educated that this is the period you are to go to farm, this is the period you are not to go? If they are to obtain clearance, where would they obtain the clearance? What are the processes? What are the protocols? These are the things that you expect that government will put in place, especially when you know that these are volatile areas. So if people don't, if they are peasants, they are farmers, they may not understand some of the grammar we are talking about. They need to be well educated. They need to be well coached to know when to go and when not to go. And you can see that from what happened. These people are completely taken aware. They are taken away and they lost their lives. En masse. That's pretty unfortunate.
Okay. Well, other, headlines and the story you'll find on pages 3 and 5 of the New Telegraph this morning. NSARS, right under the picture on the front page. NSARS started in National Assembly, says Gbajabia Mila. And the writer there, lecturer, says, it's hell without my wife killed by police. Stories up on pages 4 and 7. So, what do you make of that? NSARS started in the National Assembly, according to the Speaker, because processes, pronouncements, resolutions of the House were made that the federal government, the executive arm of government, should scrap SARS at the time.
Okay, so that means the National Assembly is blaming the executive for not being proactive enough. When you have arms of government not working in tandem, not working cooperatively, this is what we get. Not only NSARS, there are so many pronouncements, pronouncements from the National Assembly that are not taken into consideration by the executive. You understand? It's not only on this. So there is need for cohesion. There is need for cooperation between all arms of the government. Not only between the National Assembly and the executive, also the judiciary. Not only the three of them, but also with the fourth estate of the realm, which are the gentlemen sitting here this morning. So there is need for us to cooperate. Okay? If the executive had reacted positively to the cause of the National Assembly on this answer, maybe the protest we wouldn't have witnessed it. So there's need for proactive engagement with all sectors of
Well, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper. Leads with Borno massacre as well. A different tilt. Why Nigeria is at the mercy of terrorists. Lai Mohammed. Zulum asks federal government to engage mercenaries, lists other ways to clear insurgents. Take fight to insurgents, Buhari tells military sends chief of staff to Borno. Military dispute UN report insists 43 farmers killed. Adds the civilian informant sabotaging operations in the northeast. Security operatives selling weapons to Boko Haram, Donald Duke alleges. The Senate Minority Caucus urges federal government to wake up and fight against Boko Haram. I think that just touches on some of the discussions we've had already.
Yeah, but you see, another thing that calls for concern there is who are the sponsors of these people? Why has it been very, very difficult for government to unveil the sponsors of this Boko Haram?
Oh, you think the government knows and it's probably not telling?
So what are we thought? That's part of intelligence gathering.
Since it's intelligence, should it be public knowledge, as it were?
Should it be public knowledge? Okay. It may not be public knowledge at the stage of gathering the intelligence, but when you have actually pinned the whole thing to particular people, those people ask to face the law. So at that point, there's nothing secret about it again. So if after all these years, we know that these people are being sponsored by certain people, Nigerians or non-Nigerians, and they are still there, and they are still supplying them arms, then what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking security. That's what we're talking about. But right on top of the nameplate, this is another angle to some of the things we've seen in recent times. Restructuring, but then 13% derivation. Militants bid to stop South-South governors split stakeholders. I don't know if you've been following that conversation about, paying the 13% directly to the oil communities. But don't forget that for a while now, just a few South-South states have that oil producing communities development commission, like the SOPADEC, for example. So now there seems to be controversy over 13%. But then the states are even asking for more than 13%. But clearly it appears as though even the 13% that was being paid was not paid directly to the oil community. So is there anything you want to say about this?
Honestly, if you ask me, they even deserve more. They deserve more. This is one of the reasons why we have been very lazy in this part of the world. This is where the wealth of the nation is coming from. they deserve a large chunk of it. As a matter of fact, if government want to face reality, well, this is what, I can also say that this is what binds Nigeria together, the oil, as it were. But we should take cognizance of the fact that these people, they are suffering a lot. Okay, a lot is happening to their lands. It's unimaginable. So they even deserve more.
Maybe control of it?
Yes, you are talking of resource control. Well, I don't know. You know, that has generated a lot of furor in the past, and I don't think they are even talking about that again, because it seems that the federal government is not ready to even board as far as that is concerned. But even if you are not talking of, and as a matter of fact, if you ask me, I believe that is the way to go. Each state should go and control its own resources, so that we can bring out. Nigeria is blessed. It's not only about oil. Look at the oil we are talking about now. Is it valuable now? The kind of revenue that government is generating from it has dipped so significantly. So resource control, honestly, if you ask me, that's the way to go. But if the federal government doesn't want to go that way, at least they should control substantial. The derivation that goes to that should be reasonable. Okay. Very, very reasonable.
Yeah. Don't forget sports page, by the way, for sports bluffs. You see that Klopp and Ajax clash. You see Maradona's tribute. That's Vanguard Sports.
The Nigerian News Direct leads to the same story that we've talked about all morning. 110 Borno farmers' death. Buhari vows to end terrorism. The story is on page 7. As PDP blasts presidency on military clearance for farmers. Demands apology to Nigerians. One of that we've talked about significantly already this morning. And so many, stories to pick from on the front page of the paper. And just this one, and then we can go to the last one. Don't reverse ban on rice importation. Autumn begs Buhari. That story is on page 3. We seem to be in a dilemma there.
That's most unfortunate. These are the people that are benefiting from the misfortunes of Nigerians. Okay? Rice importation should not be encouraged. Whereas, locally, the price is as high as the foreign product. So what are we talking about? Look at it. Government has closed the land borders for almost a year now. And look at where we are. How much are we selling rice locally? How much are the farmers selling rice locally? Even when foreign rice were coming in, it was even cheaper than the local rice. So if they have been given that opportunity, why are we not still buying rice at 12,000 naira per bag, at 15,000 naira per bag? So it has outlived its relevance.
And now that we're counting down to Christmas, it's a huge concern.
So it has really, that call is so personal. Is very, very unreasonable at this point.
Well, let's round off with leadership quickly. The big story is, I believe, a response. Our stand, CNN, don't mess with Nigeria. You wonder who's saying that? Well, you find out in Leadership newspaper, and there's that story about Nigeria not getting enough global support in the fight against terrorism. Well, at least we're expecting to receive the Super Tucano jets any moment, according to the Air Force. But clearly, we need more, and we don't seem to be getting them. So the big question is, how or what kind of conversation are we having? But that's the leadership for you.
And that's the papers this morning, the much we can take of the dailies this morning. Mr. Abimbola Tooki, editor of Business World, thank you so much for your time this morning.
It's my pleasure, always. Okay.